Hi, and welcome to the Media Room workshop. Today, I'm going to show you how you can use a third-party developed software called LaserGRBL to control and engrave with your NEJE Master machine. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, guys. As I said at the beginning of this series in one of my previous videos, the laser engraving machine is nothing more than a numeric control machine, and that's, for instance, the same type of machine. I mean, the same type of hardware and mechanism that you will find on a 3D printer or on a CNC router. So, the ultimate point of any one of the softwares that may control this machine is to convert whatever the input file happened to be into some sort of G-code, where the G-code is, and that's why it's called G-code, is having all of these G commands that are going on. So I've showed you in my previous two videos how you can use the native desktop application of the NEJE Master to load .nc file, which is a type of G-code, as well as .dxf file, which is a type of cat file. And with both of them, we are pretty much able to cover any kind of project. I mean, from the less to the more technical, like measurement-wise and precision-wise. So this time we are going to explore a completely different software that can operate not only with vectorial type of file like G-codes and like AutoCAD files, but also to be able to introduce directly also bitmap or PNG or JPEG, and to do all sort of manipulation, keeping always the software for free. All right, so let's get all right, so let's see how to work. No. All right, so let's see how to work with it. Okay, here we are on my desktop, and this is the website where you can download the software. I'll put the link in the description below, but very simple. Just click on the download button and follow the typical installation process. So once the software is installed, then you can launch it, and this is the interface of the software, LaserGRBL, and this is the version 4.3.0. Okay, as you can see here from the interface, the software is a little bit more technical than the NEJE native desktop application. The software doesn't connect automatically. In order to connect, you will need to have once again the machine up running and connected to the computer. Then you go over to the GRBL and click on connect. So let me give you a quick overview of the interface. So before start and showing you how to import project, let me give you a very quick overview of the interface. So down here on the bottom right corner, you will find the access control commands. So this is your typical button to home. Now the device is home, and it says you can move diagonally, left, right. For this cursor, you can increase and reduce the number of steps each click performs. Okay, and this is going to change the speed of the movement. Then here on the bottom, you will find the reset button. This is basically clearing up all of the content, all of the G codes that was previously launched. This is the same like this one. This is a homing. This is to lock the access. Then this is to set your custom 0 point. And the most important one that you will use, which will be active once we load the project, will be basically the center and the frame The frame will act exactly like the NEJE Master desktop application, will show you the boundaries of where the project is going to be cut or engraved, doesn't matter. Okay, so to load a file, you just go over to File and then Open File, very simple. Then it is very important when you launch a new software and try to open a file, you can see all of the supported files. So if you open it up, you can see basically G codes, NC, CNC, G code, and so on. The raster images, which are the bitmap, PNG, JPEG, and GIF. And this is experimental. I've tried it a couple of times, but it doesn't look like working at all. For me, this is the .svg, which is basically the default file generated by Inkscape. Okay, so let's first try with the G code. That means we have created our custom project using either Inkscape or AutoCAD or any other vectorial type of software, and we exported it with some extension, or anyway we converted it with any other software into G code, okay, because that's something that you can actually achieve in several different ways, not simply by using Inkscape with extensions. Okay, so I'll open this up. So this is a spiral. As you can see, we have our coordinate system with the X and Y axis, okay? So the numbers correspond to either unitless or whichever dimension you happen to be using for the project itself, okay? So now let's see what I highly suggest you before to show the frame where the device is going to engrave is to take yourself, depending on the dimension, to take yourself pretty much close to where you want to engrave by using the controls over here, okay? After that, you set the 0 point. Okay, once you set the 0 point, basically, the position of the laser that you see, that's going to be your point over here. So whatever is going to be engraved or cut, that's going to happen towards the home in this direction and towards and away from home in this direction. And now you will see it by showing you the boundary. First, I will just try to take me in some better position. So once I'm done, I'll click the 0. Now I will show you the frame. So as you can see, the 0, which supposedly it should be located where the home of the axis is located, but actually is all the way to the bottom. So basically it's all the way to the end of the long axis. That's going to be your 0 point, okay? And so for this reason, I highly recommend you to set up your custom coordinate point, which is this one, through this button, so that then you're sure about where exactly is going to engrave. Now in the software, the only way to change the burning parameters, that means the power of the laser and the speed of it, it's when you're loading raster type of files, okay? And I will show you that in a minute. When you're loading a G-code type of file, so .nc or .gcode or .cnc, this kind of files, this implies that the burning parameters, they are given from the software that generated the code. Okay, so once you are happy with the coordinate, you will just then click on frame just to be sure that the boundaries are within the region that you want to engrave if it's a workpiece. And once you're happy with it, you just click play and you are pretty much good to go. All right, so let's now test something different. Now this was a very quick engraving. Let's now go over to file and to open different type of file. So this time I want to okay, let's do the yes, the NEJE logo PNG. So let's open this up. Now this is the interesting part of the software, because it seems like the software was specifically made to work with raster images. So here you will find all the kind of parameters that you can set up to do your engraving. So for example, you can do engravings by having line by line laid, like if it's printing. You can have differing, which is basically it's not very clear here, but basically there are points instead of lines. Okay, you see the lines because they are too small, but they're points basically. I will show you then another image that you can use for that. But anyway, what I normally do is doing a quick evaluation of the raster image that I'm putting in. So depending on the type of details and also depending on the effect that I want to output, I will either use lines, dots. There is also a vectorize, centerline, and pass through, which are other things. Here we can still see the original. So let's do the simple one. It's line by line. I will go with the horizontal one, and then the quality, that means how many lines are per millimeter. So that means how many passes are done in 1 millimeter. So I will try 8. Here the live preview is already selected. The other thing is that you can do some very quick changes, like you can rotate, you can flip over about some of the axes, you can manually crop the image, okay, or you can automatically crop, so it will basically recognize the region that is populated with something. You can also invert if you'd like. Okay, I'll stick with that. Then you can also change the brightness and the contrast. Now, the more complex is the image, for instance, if it's a photo, then the more you're going to see how these are affecting the final result. So I'll click on next. Now, here is where it comes to power settings. First of all, as engraving speed, I normally put it down to 500 millimeter per minute. I found that that's a reasonable speed. The laser mode, you can find some documentation on the web by clicking to this info icon. But the idea is that if your laser engraver works with dynamic modulation, you will better go with dynamic modulation. What that means is that when you are towards the end of a stroke, you will not get this extra burning that you will get if you are in constant power, because what the axis is doing, what the machine is doing, is basically slowing down and preparing to change direction. So in this slowing down, if you keep the power of the machine constant, you will basically have a darker area. So it's basically burning more. What dynamic power does instead, it's accounting for this acceleration and deceleration, and so adapting the power so that you don't get this unwanted spots. Okay, so with S-min and S-max, you can adjust the power. So you can start from 0. Ideal is the default, but there are some instances where you might want to kick this up. And in my case, yes, so based on the material that I put beneath the laser, 30% is going to be more than enough. Then you can size the image. You can have it auto-sized, or I would like to go for, let's say, okay, yeah, so this looks decent for it. Then you can have also an offset, which is basically the offset from the reference point of the image that you imported, but I wouldn't suggest you to play around with that, because you can still adjust your custom reference point from the machine itself. So then click on generate. Okay, so here you can see that it's showing you all the passage. Okay, so once again I will suggest you to manually move the laser to a point where you believe is going to be okay. Set your 0 point and then click on frame, so you can see where exactly is going to engrave. That looks quite okay for me. And then when you're ready, you can give it a play. So as you can see, is exactly behaving like a printer. So it's engraving line by line. All right, now I will show you instead where happen the other options that you can apply to an image for engraving. So I will now load this image over here. Okay, this is the image. It's the image of a crawler crane. Now, so this is the line by line as we did previously. Okay, let me show you the differing, and that's what I meant. So these are basically points. Now, what you can do is you have additional options that will basically make your engrave more or less clear, depending on the details and on the contrast of the original image. Okay, and then you can also choose if you want vertical or diagonal. As you can see, this time is not much clear that is a line like before, and that's because they are completely different type of details. And you can once again play around with the brightness. You can also do a white clip. That means you can see over here what is happening. You can play more or less with the contrast. As you can see, we are kind of isolating the crane on its own. Yeah, we basically isolated the crane. Then we can we could, for instance, crop the image just to get the crane in frame, and that looks good. Then you once again you can set up your burning parameters, create, and that's what the path of your engraving is going to be. All right. As you can see, the software gives you a little bit more flexibility over your projects, and yes, it's not exactly the best software out there, but bearing also in mind that this is still a free software that you can download and use, but it's getting a little bit more technical than the NEJE Master machine. So I think it's still pretty easy software for beginners to use. If you are a person that is already dealing with 3D printing, for instance, so you are most probably using a bunch of other softwares that are actually working behind the same principle. Or if you happen to be a person passionate for CNC control, or you're a mechanical engineer, you can basically input your own G-code, and you can tweak and modify some of the parameters straight on the application. This is pretty much all. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, don't forget to click the thumbs up button below. If you have any comment, as usual, I'm here available to reply to any one of your questions if I can. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more video like this one. Ciao for now.